Strap in those seatbelts, everybody. We're going back to Beyond the Borderline with your hosts, Connor, Cam, Phil, and Ryan.
What up?
That was an intense intro there. Yeah, so if you guys tuned in last week, you would have heard some great discussion on religion. Got slightly heated there, but you know, that's what these conversations are about. But we left off. Well, Phil had an unfinished thought from the last episode, essentially that he needed a little time to research on. But it was basically he posited that as societies become, correct me if I'm wrong, as societies become more secular, that somehow that would lead to an increase in collective thinking, and then the inverse would be true as well. I presume so. As societies become more religious, individualistic thinking is exacerbated. Although I feel like it could go both ways. So anyway, explain what you meant by that.
It could. Okay, basically, the more you adopt personal responsibility, the more you inherently become religious. And in the inverse, the more you think about your collective group and your collective class, the less you focus on yourself and the more you search for ideologies.
Okay. So you're saying like people who like okay, so someone who is focused on like bettering themselves and accepting the maximum amount of responsibility that they can in order to make themselves a better person is like more likely to tend towards religious beliefs in order to sustain that character growth, whereas that breed of person who instead tries to fix society and looks at societal ills and you know castigates societal ills is more likely to turn to some kind of possibly radical ideology in order to solve those problems.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I agree.
I agree then.
I agree with the latter, Phil, but not with the former. I personally don't believe that just because someone is looking in upon themselves to do better, to build themselves to be the best person they can possibly be, necessarily makes them more religious or pushes them towards more religious ideology. I don't necessarily think that's true. Is it coincidence? Does it happen? Of course, but I don't think it's necessarily inherent.
Yeah, but it could be more true than not. You know, it's not necessarily inherent, but I think, I don't know, it rings true because that's what so many religions are focused on. And we talked about this last week that, you know, caring for your neighbors, but also like making yourself a better person, right? Like Christianity is walking in the footsteps of Jesus, essentially, trying to live like he did. So they're kind of interconnected, you know, like people who like seek self-help and whatever, and try to, you know, fix themselves. It often takes on the characteristics of religion, right? Like they have rituals for themselves. Maybe they meditate or they do some kind of stress relieving thing. They have like a routine.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying,
you know, it's like the same pattern of thought. You know,
you're using religion as an analogy or as a medium to describe or explain how people better themselves. Not necessarily that they become religious, like literally, but you see similarities between the two. Okay,
not exactly how they better themselves. It's kind of like the lens through which they live their life.
Yeah, I know, but like it takes on a spiritual aspect, right?
If we're saying that you're not
take what they're saying, I was gonna say people just take what, like some people take their self-help and their introspection to religion, and some people take it outside of religion. But it doesn't mean necessarily that someone's less spiritual, I guess, because I think people have evolved and have changed maybe and shifted to be less like religion, like hyper focused, I guess, and you call that. Yeah. And they're more open to different views on like how your like inner spirit or whatever you want to call it can be channeled in other forms outside of religion.
Right. But even that, like the language that you're using in terms of spirit and whatnot, like that has religious connotations, you know, as opposed to like a political ideology taking the place of your, you know, of your
I feel like that
I don't
falls
know what you
more
would
into
call it.
morals and ethics. I would say is more that's what political stance is more focused on, is, you know, what you see as being morally good and morally bad and
Mhm.
ethical towards your fellow man. So I
Yeah.
think that's what that is. But maybe we
And
should
it's
leave that
definitely
there.
not so. Wait. I just want to touch
Yeah,
on
go
one
ahead,
last
go ahead.
thing, because like Phil, okay, if you attack it from like the personal responsibility angle, like kind of how you presented it,
Mhm.
I think you're right, or at least onto something. But also, there's like with organized religion, and we talked a little bit about this, like the downfalls of like the organization of religion. It can also turn tyrannical and no different than like some kind of political ideology, you know, that tries to change society. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, Christians for the longest time, it was incumbent upon you to like convert people, you know, forcefully at some
Mhm.
times
Yeah,
to that religion,
and
and like in
that
other time. Yeah, sorry. What do you go
no,
ahead?
I just wanted to say that I do agree with you. I try to give religion a use that wasn't communal, so like a very stripped down version of it.
Right.
But I totally agree with you.
Well, that's why people that like fuck their lives up so bad turn to religion, though, right? Like you see all like celebrities and whatnot who like, you know, destroyed their lives in their early 20s, or like anyone really who's gone through some really tough shit. Turning to religion is a common solution to that. So there's something there, you know. It's not just delusion. There's something really there.
I
And
think
yeah.
like throughout history though, religion has been segregated between, you know, like different religions lashing out at each other.
Mhm.
Whereas now we live in a world where those kind of like walls have been broken down, and that's why you see people take like culture approach, or yeah, I guess you could say like religious appropriation, and taking some
Mhm.
aspects of different religions into their lives, and it's less like frowned upon, where it's like, you know, this person is, and that's why you see people of different, like people getting married from different religious backgrounds, whereas that before would be very frowned upon, but in today's society is more accepted, because I think the barriers that were around it, like if you were raised in a Catholic household, you were Catholic, or if you
Mhm.
were raised in a Muslim household, you're Muslim. Whereas nowadays,
They're just
that's
spiritual.
yeah, exactly. It's more spiritual, and you know, uh, just taking the best parts of these religions
Yeah.
and applying them to daily life.
Well, it's because religion and government were so often went hand in hand in the past, right? So it was so
Hmm.
much more strict because you had the power of the state able to enforce the religion. And these things still exist, obviously, in some parts in the Middle East. But that, going back to Dune, actually, I don't want
Oh,
to bring this up.
here we go.
I don't
Here
want to
we
bring
go.
this up every episode, but man, great books. Shout out Dune. But anyway,
Great movie
that's
too.
like the greatest lesson of that series, right? Is like when you mix government with religion, I mean, this galactic wide jihad happens and 61 billion people die, you know, so it's
True.
not good, not good. But
Maybe
anyway, okay, let's
we
wrap
should
that up.
progress to
Let's wrap that up.
the main idea of today, the main point
The
of today.
main idea. Okay, this is scintillating, if I do say so myself. But basically, okay, we were talking about religion, so it's not too much of a jump to go straight to conceptions of the afterlife, essentially. So I don't know. First
We
things
kind of
first,
left
do you
off.
guys believe in the afterlife or
So
in an afterlife?
we kind of left off with where I was taking, you know, the idea of the afterlife, and Connor was interested in what I had to say, and I personally, I hope there is an afterlife.
Wait, is this
Do
where
I?
Phil roasted you for being materialistic?
No.
That 2 episodes ago.
Okay.
I hope there is an afterlife. Obviously, I don't want it to all just go black and there be nothing. In fact, that, you know, I lay awake at night. That's one of my greatest fears.
Yeah.
But can I say I wholeheartedly believe that there is an afterlife right now? No, because unfortunately, I'm a realist, and I'm the type of person that I need to see it to believe it. I guess you could say my faith is very
Can you see
low.
atoms? No,
I'm
kidding.
sure-
I'm fucking around. Can
Ryan,
you see air?
I'm sure you live your life with some sort of mantra, if you want to call it that, where it's like live
Of
life.
course,
with
I
a
have a
purpose.
moral
Like, what's
code.
the
Yes,
point?
of course, but I don't.
No,
I
I'm
don't
not asking
attribute
about a
that-
moral code. I'm not asking about your moral code. I'm saying you live life with a purpose. You don't do anything because like you do stuff with intention and you do it meaningfully. And I think the whole point of there being an afterlife is so that you live your life with purpose until the very end. You know, like you do better for your fellow man, and karma like is another aspect of that purpose. And so
Well, so
but-
do you
I
guys
don't
agree?
think-
what's the point of
I-
you not being like an anarchist and just doing whatever the fuck you
So
want?
I don't think purpose has to be. I don't think purpose, like your purpose, has to be tied to any sort of spirituality or religion. I really don't think it has to, because I'm the type of person that, you know, I like to believe that everything that has happened to me or everything that I do is by way of my actions, and my purpose for me. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of what I think my purpose is, but in the pursuit of following my purpose, I'm not doing it. I'm not trying to achieve my purpose in the hopes that there is some great afterlife that I will get to reap the benefits by, you know, I'll get to reap the benefits of that afterlife if I achieve my purpose. I don't think that way. I achieve my purpose because it brings me fulfillment in my life. What happens
Okay.
after my life is completely different.
Okay, so
So
that
your life
brings
is
up a
meaningless.
valuable. That
No, my
brings
life
up-
is not meaningless.
wait. Okay, this is a differentiation that we have to make. Is we're talking about like our life on Earth affecting our afterlife. So
I don't-
like that's common across all religions.
I
But
know.
basically, what I want to ask, hold on, what I want to ask is, so clearly you don't seem to believe in like the heaven hell split, at least. So
I
we
would
can talk
love to
about
believe
that.
in
Like
it.
we can
I
talk about the
think-
moral differences between various afterlives, but there also could just be an afterlife that we haven't even conceived of, you know.
Absolutely,
That's not
I
like
completely agree.
paradise, you know.
Mhm.
What if this is
Or
all a
we could wake
simulation?
up
Like
from the simulation. Yeah.
what if this is the Matrix, guys?
That would suck. That would actually suck.
That would
But
actually
then
suck.
is that now the afterlife then?
That would just be
in-
real life, I guess.
Yeah, that would just be real life. We're
Wow.
living a lie. Is this a simulation,
So
Morty?
done. I know.
And then that's a simulation too, and then that's a simulation.
Yeah.
No, I don't. But see,
I-
that just makes life so meaningless, man. You
I know, but
know?
I don't see it that way. I don't know why. For those that are very spiritual or religious, I don't know why there has to be an afterlife for there to be meaning to your life. You know what I mean? Like if you can't find if fulfillment of you achieving your purpose in life isn't enough, I don't know why that can't be enough for some people. Like it's more than enough.
Well,
for me.
it can be, but I'm saying
here-
like specifically like if we found out we were in a simulation, like something like that would make life meaningless, you know. Living a good
Well-
life and like being content with your life and then just dying, I think, yeah, of course you can find meaning in living a good life.
because
But
Here's something, here's something I got for you guys to just ponder for a second. When every human being dies, there's 21, everyone loses 21 grams, and that they say like that's your soul leaving your body.
but
and
isn't that just an
so-
urban legend, dude?
No, that is not just an urban legend. You
I
can go
don't
and look
know.
it up. And so, like, just if you think about that for a second, 21 grams is gone, and like what that 21 grams is, like obviously when you die, like people like you know.
But how do they
that-
know
like,
that? They're not
defecate
just
and stuff
weighing
that.
like people on hospital beds. and
they're
shit.
weighing people as soon as they die.
I'm
They're
not
like,
like
shit,
I'm
turn
not
to the
certain the
scale.
exact.
Toss them on a
I just
scale.
know. I just
He just
like,
died, get him to the scale.
It's proven. It's proven though. It's a fact that when you die, you lose 21 grams. Now what that 21 grams is, like I guess that's up for debate. But you know, a lot of people have come to this like consensus that it is your soul leaving your body. So,
Because you shit yourself when
think-
you die.
but that would
Oh,
still be
that's-
that would still
that's-
be weighed in.
Yeah, it would
And
be
not
like-
everybody.
it'd be like
not
10
everybody
pounds to
does
me.
that.
Oh
Not
god.
everybody does that. So when you think about that though, like you know, like that 21 grams is your soul going
Yeah.
out into the world, whether it be heaven, hell, whatever afterlife you believe in. There's got to be something where that 21 grams escapes to.
Well, soul and or consciousness, it can kind of be the same thing, you know. It's kind of like the same concept. Like the soul is a religious idea, right? But consciousness is kind of the same thing. It's that which differentiates us from all other living beings. So
I think they're
certainly something
intertwined
can
though, right?
happen.
Like
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying they're
a
the
lot of
same,
religion
the
at the
words for the
basis.
same thing.
Yeah,
So
like
while
the soul,
I
your
don't
soul is your
necessarily
consciousness,
so
essentially.
while I don't believe in things like it's I don't want to say I don't believe in them. It's like because I want to believe that they're real, right? Like that's why I find myself thinking about ideas like soul and consciousness and heaven and hell. I think they're really cool concepts. I love reading about them in mythology and fiction. They're
Well,
things I
consciousness
gravitate.
is real.
They're things like yes, consciousness is real. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is I find myself I gravitate towards those themes and ideas more so than I don't in pop culture. It's just I have a hard time believing that they could possibly be real and true concepts in reality. I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, see, this is
That's
my
the whole
thing.
thing
Like,
about faith,
like,
though. Like that's what faith is the ability, having the ability to believe in that, and that's, I guess,
so then I
sometimes
guess
you
we
just
can
got to
say
make a leap.
I haven't. I guess we can say I haven't achieved that ability then.
okay, think about it. This is where I stand. Like, heaven and hell are like, they're tough concepts to wrap your head around if you're a realist, like you're saying, Ryan. Like, it's tough to say, like, yeah, of course there's like a pit of, this hellish fire dimension where we all go if we're bad, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, right? And you could argue that its inclusion in the Bible and in religion could be purely metaphorical, but the consciousness thing that I was trying to say is like, we don't know what happens to that. First of all, like we talked about a few episodes ago, we can barely even define consciousness, right? And we don't know how we obtained it either. And we don't know the limits of it, the extents of it, and what happens to it when we die. You can assume if you say, okay, consciousness is just generated in the brain by the firing of neurons and shit, that when we die, that electrical activity ceases, and so our consciousness ceases to exist as well. But we don't know that for a fact, right? And there's people that have like near-death experiences that, of course, they could just be, their brains full of fucked up shit. But they talk about like, transcendent feelings of joy and like traveling to, alternate dimensions and shit. And I'm not trying to say that that's for sure like a fact.
Guys,
but-
listen. The demons are coming down from interdimensional realms. Sorry, that was my Alex.
Yeah.
That was my Alex Jones impression.
Notice me, senpai.
But you know what I mean? Like, we don't know what happens to consciousness. It could just enter like, well, it could reincarnate. I don't know. There's that too, right? That's a big
That's a
idea in
Different
Eastern
argument
religion.
altogether.
Yeah, and there's people that believe and have like like go on record saying they see ghosts and stuff like that. So there is definitely the strong possibility that there is other like dimensions, whatever you want to call it, that exist even on Earth that we can't perceive as living human beings, but maybe when you die, that consciousness is able to see it and live in the world. Like maybe there's someone chilling in my room right now, a conscious
God.
that's
Here's the thing though, although I don't
Or-
believe in heaven and hell, this is a big contradiction. I do believe in ghosts. It's an
Interesting.
irrational, it makes no sense.
You're
I know.
fucked.
I know.
Fucked.
My brain is
You
fucked.
believe in ghosts, but you don't believe in God. Okay, what about this? What about when you die?
No, I didn't say I
your
didn't believe in God.
consciousness-
I said I believe. I said I
Okay.
don't necessarily believe in the Christian God. I believe that something created us. I just don't know what that thing is.
Okay, think about this.
believes
When
in a
you
higher
die,
power.
what if when you die? Okay, so what is it? String theory or whatever? The one that essentially proves that there's infinite universes or could be infinite universes.
the multiversal theory. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. What if when you die here, your consciousness just shifts to another multiverse where you are being born?
that's
So
late,
it's
So
like,
reincarnation.
So it's like reincarnation.
Yeah, essentially,
like-
right?
essentially it's something like layered on top of where we are right now that we just can't perceive.
But that would assume then that it was going at different times. So I don't know. Maybe it goes to I don't know. Maybe that's a stupid
Yeah,
idea.
that
Phil, what do you
argument
think?
is kind of circular because isn't it is it in Hinduism where you reach a certain, or Buddhism, where you reach a certain level of reincarnations, and then there's kind of this like nothingness where you've like completed the mission type shit. Like
Well,
you just
Nirvana.
Here's
Yeah.
another thing.
there's Buddhism, which is like reaching enlightenment, and that's what you're talking about, Phil, is where
Yeah.
you
I think you're talking about
become you
Hinduism.
become
though.
Okay,
so
so hold on.
well
To make
in Buddhism you become so enlightened that there's no need for your body on earth anymore. You become essentially like a sentient being.
Yeah, you escape the wheel of reincarnation.
Okay, so hold on. Let's assume. Let's get really dark and deep with this. Let's assume
gosh.
Edgy.
the grimmest outcome
Edgelord.
that let's
Yeah.
assume the grimmest outcome is that there is nothing. It's just black. If we assume that it is just black and there's nothing, when you die, can you perceive that nothingness, or does your consciousness just die with it? Like, do you not perceive
Yeah,
anything? I mean,
I
do
don't
you
know.
cease to exist? Do you perceive and just does your consciousness just exist in a void, and you know you're in a void and there's nothing you can do about it, so you're just sitting there amorphously thinking about whatever you used to do? Like, is that the way it is? Because if that's the way it is, that's horrifying.
Technically that's still afterlife though.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is that what the afterlife
Like,
looks like?
do you
When people
have
s-
to be conscious to acknowledge afterlife?
Yeah. Do you have to be conscious to acknowledge afterlife?
See, the fucked up thing is we'll never know, really.
We'll never know.
Because that's the
Well,
thing too. When
Until
you
we
ask,
die.
eventually everybody finds out.
so
Yeah.
when you ask people, like, you know how people like they were dead for 3 minutes, but then they managed to get revived. When you ask people, like I've read up about on this more often than not, when you ask people what did you experience when you went through that near death experience, more often than not they don't remember, they can't tell you.
Well,
And
what
if
I've
they
heard a
do
lot of
remember,
crazy.
they don't have conflicting stories. They pretty much word for word have the same story, which is interesting.
Well, it either
So what
means
I'm
they're
saying,
all
hold on, I haven't finished.
experiencing
I'm
the
not finished.
same, like,
What I'm
mental-
saying, what I take that response in two different ways, two different possible ways what this can mean. The first way is the grimmest is, yeah, there is nothing and our consciousness can't perceive nothing, so there really isn't an afterlife. Or B, B is what I'm hoping it is. You can only perceive the afterlife when you're dead because your consciousness achieves some sort of, to gamify what I'm about to say here, upgrade that allows you to perceive the afterlife. But when you go back to being alive and conscious in the dimension of being that we currently occupy, your consciousness no longer has the ability to remember what you perceive in the afterlife because you lost that upgrade, so to speak.
Well, from like
right.
primary like sources that I like, people that I know, they've seen a glimpse of, like they've seen the white light and they felt very euphoric and stuff like that. Like do they see like, other beings and like angels and shit? I didn't really ask that question, but they said they felt euphoric and they saw like a white light. They were content and they were happy.
I
So
take
that
that
leads me to believe in something being there once you pass.
I take that. So the realist in me takes that to it's probably just chemicals in your brain making you see those things. But
Yeah, it could be that.
Maybe the idealist, or maybe not the idealist, but the more optimistic Ryan wants to believe that that's like the gateway, the bridge between the afterlife and real life.
Yeah. Is that just dimethyltryptamine going on? You know?
Oh, now that
Who
would be
knows?
crazy, dude.
That's a crazy discussion.
Although,
Yo,
yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
I got
that.
something
That's a
fucked
big
up for you guys
ass
to think of,
topic.
for everyone to
It
think
is,
about
it
right
is.
now here is like, they say when you die, because your brain survives for like can survive for 7 minutes without oxygen. So it's like when you die, you're in your brain, it goes through your entire life in that 7 minutes. And since time is like relative, are we all just living in that 7 minutes right now? Or are we actually living our
boy.
life? Which is like a really
Damn.
fucked up thing to think about.
That
no,
is-
But
no,
wow.
no.
Every now and then that just pops up. I'm like, am I just living am I just living my entire life in the last 7 minutes?
Connor, I
right
would like
now,
to.
or
I'd
is
like
Oh,
to
this
I
sleep.
never
like-
heard that before.
I'd like
Damn.
to sleep tonight,
Wow.
so I'm not going to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know,
that
man.
could put you through a rabbit hole for sure, but like that's just something
Wow.
that pops up in the back of my head every now and then, which is
Although, wouldn't you like
Uh,
remember your future then?
you wouldn't know. You would, well, like
Because you lived it
how,
already.
how how I understand it is like you're just like you're living your life. in those 7 minutes, you're living your life pretty much like from birth, like from start to finish. And it's not like, I
You just
feel like
don't
there'd be like a
realize.
blockage. Yeah, there's like a blockage there that's saying, okay, you don't know what's happening tomorrow.
Mhm.
And so, until you reach that 7 minute mark where you're dead, you don't know that this is what you're living.
Possible, man.
Here's what scares me. Whenever we discover how to quantify consciousness, like we can, it's a real thing that we can harness, manipulate, and create. That has some serious, scary connotations and realities in terms of technology and society as a whole.
I
Mhm.
don't think you can
What
ever,
if you could take
you
somebody's
can
consciousness
recreate
away?
it and you can mimic it, but I don't think you can ever replicate it.
Yeah.
I've seen movies and I've read different books that try to, play around with this idea. The biggest idea, like the biggest one on robotic consciousness is Terminator, if you want to get into that one. But there was this other movie I watched a while ago with Johnny Depp called Transcendence. I don't know if you
Oh,
guys
where
have
he
ever seen
I was
that.
uploads
gonna
his
mention that.
consciousness.
Where he's
Very
no,
cool.
he doesn't upload it. He takes a literal digital copy of his consciousness. So it's not like he took his
Right.
consciousness and then moved it somewhere else. It's he copied all the files and then pasted it. So it's literally like a clone of his consciousness. So it's not his consciousness. It's a clone of his consciousness. But it got me thinking, like, is consciousness this cosmic, like I pictured as like this swirling ball of energy that just is consciousness that swirling ball of energy that could be harnessed and moved to different places and not just copied? Is consciousness just a collection of our memories, or is it something greater? Is it something cosmic?
Right. Well, it's kind of like you could almost think of it as the Force, like,
Oh, here we go.
well, because when Jedi die, right, they become, well,
They become,
Qui-Gon
with the
learned to
Force.
become part of the cosmic
The-
force, and he could
yes.
project his will through the Force. And so it's like, I don't know, is there some kind of energy field created by the dead
I hope
consciousnesses
so.
of every human being that's ever
I
existed?
doubt
that
it,
what-
but I hope so.
Is that what a ghost is though? Is like the
Yeah.
embodiment of that, of someone who's like, I don't know if you want to say, like, if you want to talk about Jedi, like a powerful person,
No.
and their
I think of
consciousness is a ghost.
I think of ghosts as this way. I think ghosts are, it's a piece of your consciousness that has latched onto something in the physical world that can't let go.
Yeah,
for
but
whatever
how
reason.
does that happen?
Yeah, how is
I don't
that
know how that
there?
happens, but that's how I think.
This
of
is
ghosts.
what I think. Ghosts are not real.
I think they
Yo,
are.
dude, you're a non-believer.
What?
Phil lives in a house with ghosts. You used to believe in Marge.
Yeah, dude.
Phil's ghost.
Yeah.
What do you mean
true.
you used to believe?
So
It's
everybody,
fact.
Yeah, that actually
everyone
was
listening
creepy.
in,
That was
everyone
creepy.
listening in, I guess maybe this is a story for next episode, but
Let's not.
No, I'll retell it.
I'm not. Yeah.
Phil is
Okay.
Phil is a ghost that lives in his house, or at least Phil and Cam believe that.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
I don't want to really sound like a quack, but I had some unexplainable things happen to Cameron and I that just can't be explained by normal physics.
So
It's
Phil,
just-
you know
mean,
what?
it
Phil,
can't.
I completely sympathize with you. There is a demon living in my cottage. It's okay. I
Oh
sympathize.
my god. You were
Alright,
just
so-
you're on too many substances that night.
Yo,
No, I'm
maybe-
telling you, I saw it.
No, you're crazy.
Not all right, guys. If you like this episode, tune in to the next episode. I guess the next episode will be being released on Friday.
Are we talking about
getting into it.
ghosts
Yeah, we're gonna be getting into Phil's ghost story, and then I guess
Oh, God.
Ryan's demon
and
story.
aliens? Let's just go
And
the
apparently
we're
gonna-
holy
And
trio.
We're gonna be
we
talking
can
about
touch
aliens
into a bit
too.
of psychedelics.
So we're
as well.
we're
No, we'll
touching
do
into
that after.
we're touching into
Okay.
we're talking the next week's or next next episode will be discussing the supernatural.
Okay,
I think it's a better
Mhm.
better way to encompass it all.
Sure. Next, all right.
Let's
Let me
go.
start over. I guess. All right. Next week we're gonna be talking about the supernatural with some first-hand encounters from the boys. So if that's something of interest, please tune in on Friday for that episode.
If you
Once
don't, we will
again,
find
if you
you.
guys
No,
once again,
they'll
if
find
you
you.
guys want us if you guys want us to talk
Yeah.
about anything specific, slide into those DMs. The links are in the description, and of course, like, we'll answer any DMs, any and all DMs. So feel free to
Unless
slide
they
in at any
are
time.
rude. then we
Yeah,
will cry.
we'll answer them. We'll answer them no matter what. But if you want something discussed, like on the pod, just come in with something good, and we'll
On the pod.
see if it's worthy. Anyways,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for listening this week,
And
and I guess that's it. We'll just sign off there unless you guys got anything
no,
else.
no,
to
no,
add.
you're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You gotta say the
Well,
line.
obviously, take care and brush your hair.
Hey,
Yeah.
there we go.